Rivermen Day is rolling on, and look who we're bringing in. Rivermen defenseman, 7-year pro with the team, Ben Oskroba. Scrobes, how are you, man?
Oh, I'm all right. I'm hanging in there. No hockey things obviously it's killing me inside a little bit, but it's going. I'm sure everyone's struggling a little bit right now with still battling this whole COVID thing that's been going on way too long.
I think your dog is struggling not having you there right next to him. Is that your dog?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, he's not happy that he's not right here next to me. That's for sure.
Well, Ben, we're doing something a little different with you as opposed to some of our other guests. This is Rivermen Day. We're celebrating 40 years of hockey, professional hockey in Peoria, and you played a huge part of that with the SPHL team. We're going to give fans an opportunity to do a Q&A with you. We asked them twice on Facebook and Twitter. We pulled some questions, not all of them. Sorry, folks. We did get quite a bit, so thank you for that. But we're going to give a chance for some of your fans and obviously some people that knew you pretty well during your time in Peoria to ask you some things and do a little Q&A here. You game for that?
Absolutely. Let's go.
All right, man. Well, let's see here. And we'll be throwing our questions up on the screen. So let's start it out with Jake Green. He asks, Ben, how did your hockey journey start?
Good question. So I was about 3 or 4. I lived in Elmhurst, Illinois, and there was an outdoor rink at the YMCA there. And I remember earliest hockey memories, waking up at way too early, freezing cold. You used to have to put tape over your ears to keep them a little bit warmer. We had hot chocolate breaks even at that time. But I remember my parents and driving me there, you had to get dressed at home and, getting down that outdoor rink. And it was pretty special. It actually had chain link fences as the glass and wood boards. So it was an old school rink there.
That's a pretty awesome story. And of course you would go on, if anybody doesn't know the journey about Ben, as we mentioned, 7 years, over 300 games with the Rivermen, a little bit of a career at Northeastern University, playing some D1 hockey. You took an ECHL call up as well. So, but it all starts with a chain link fence and some frozen ice outdoors. That's great. That's how it's supposed to start, right?
That's right.
Humble beginnings. All right, let's go to Brad Windsor. He asks, did you enjoy working with the kids in the PYHA, Peoria Youth Hockey Association, of course? Did you enjoy working with the kids in PYHA as much as they enjoyed working with you?
Absolutely. It was awesome. Me and Alec got a chance to do it last year. And, given, I get to see a lot of the kids at the games and everything. So then getting a chance to coach them a little bit and go to some of their practices and just being around them was just awesome. Being able to answer their questions and, pass on a little bit of the information and a little bit of learning that I, could give them or could teach them. It was an amazing experience. And I always love giving back to the kids.
That's what it's all about too. Every chance you get to give back is always important. How about Maggie Hageman? I don't know if that's a relation to Alec.
I believe that would be.
I would assume so. She asks, who is your least favorite team or rink to play at? You might have 2 different answers here.
Oh, man. The least favorite. It kind of changed every year. Oh, or team. Well, I'll give you the answer to both of those.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Do you have the same answer for both or a different?
I would say playing at that Fayetteville rink, especially given it was the last practice that I actually had, that was definitely up there with one of my least favorite places to play. I'm not really sure why. I just, with the long trip, it wasn't like we're going to Pensacola, Florida. We were just going to Fayetteville, North Carolina. But, I got a funny story about that too. I was the first time I ever went to Fayetteville, I think it was my first year. We're on a bus, and I typed in Fayetteville in my Google Maps before you even left at night, and I was like, I thought this was a lot closer. Where are we going? It's in North Carolina. I was thinking it was in Ohio or something. I picked the first Fayetteville that popped up, and I was like, why are we leaving so early if we're just going to Ohio? But then I found out it was North Carolina. So that was an interesting experience waking up and we're not there yet. I was like, how did that happen? But yeah, I'd say that was probably my least favorite rink to play in.
Okay.
As far as least favorite team to play, Uh, I would say Evansville could be up there. Just the amount of times that we played them, since they came in the league. Although Quad City obviously would have taken over had we finished all those games, but just the amount of times we played Evansville and made that short trip, just I don't know. That was probably one of my least favorite teams to play.
That's a short but long trip because we're taking a coach bus, not a sleeper bus. So, man, your legs are cramped up for 5.5 hours.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's in just the amount of times that we played them. That's really the only reason I could say that they're the least favorite team to play.
All right, there's the answer for that. Let's move on. Well, that one's, I guess you want to call that a lighthearted question. How about this one by Isaiah Fawn? Do you prefer boxers or briefs? Asking for a friend.
No, I gave up underwear for Lent a few years ago, but no, I'm totally kidding. I'm a boxer guy myself.
There we go. All right. No long reason for that. All right. So we know that Fayetteville is your least favorite rink to play. Joseph Cole wants to know, what were your 3 favorite places to play on the road? I don't know. I mean, this question, he doesn't necessarily specify the SPHL. So if there are other rinks out there from the college route or ECHL, what are your 3 favorite places to play on the road?
I'll stick with the SPHL one just because they're more fresh. But Pensacola, although until our last season, or not 2 seasons ago, I guess, where we actually had a lot of success there, that one specific trip, we struggled there a little bit, but obviously, the rink and the fans of Pensacola were awesome, and getting a little extra time at the beach never hurt. So I'd say that's number 1. Huntsville is always a great atmosphere in there. And I enjoyed that. And then even, obviously I should have said this first, playing in Peoria for those fans, that counts, right? That should have been number 1. They say outside of Peoria.
They said 3 places on the road.
Oh, on the road.
Okay. Came 2, so you didn't lose any points.
I didn't bounce that one yet. Okay. The other one would be Knoxville. It was such a different game. It was, smaller rink, you could shoot the puck from the blue line. It felt like you were at the top of the circles. So I'd say that's one of the ones that I enjoyed playing at, and always a good atmosphere there as well.
It's interesting in Knoxville too, because it's not a round bowl that the fans sit in. It's like a rectangle. Like its fan base is square or rectangled to the rink.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I enjoyed it. It was different. It was one of those that's just different. You had, no fans on the one side by the Zamboni. But then all the other fans seemed like they were on top of you. Mm-hmm. Kind of could scream down on you a little bit. So I enjoyed that.
This is a good segue. You're talking about fans so much. How about this question? Jason Hausman asks, what is the weirdest fan encounter you've ever had?
There's too many of those that pop up. I can't really pinpoint just one. I should have looked at that one because I could have came up with one, I'm sure.
Are there any that just come to mind randomly, like any moments?
In Birmingham, so I think it was a couple of years ago now, but something happened in the game, and we ended up, I think, with 5 or 6 of us in the box at one time. And definitely Birmingham's another one of those rinks that the fans are on top of you, and especially when you're in the penalty box, they could lean over all the way and basically have half their body in, the penalty box. And we had a fan that was going off on us. He's yelling at us, and he's trying to, and we're like, well, you're paying to watch us play, so that's, so whatever, we were just kind of ignoring him. And then he started talking about comparing pay stubs, and it was a really strange one. I was like, okay, you make more money than us, great, but I don't know what really you want us to do here. But it was pretty funny, just that exchange, and having him right on top of us was it was a strange one, that's for sure.
There are really some passionate fans, and some take it to the next level, I guess.
That's a fact.
All right, let's move on here, and I think we're going to get into some more deeper meaning questions. Susie Cranford, who we obviously all know, big-time Rivermen supporter, she asks you, Ben, has retirement been any easier to cope with given there was no Rivermen season this year?
Yeah, I definitely think it has. I think it would have been much more difficult had, a lot of the guys I always played with playing in Peoria and not being there. I think that would have hurt even worse. And obviously, I'm still close with a lot of them, so seeing them play in Peoria, I think would have hurt that much more and made it that much more difficult. But in a different way, it did make it. The second I made my announcement that I was retirement pretty quickly thereafter. I learned that the Rivermen weren't playing, so I would say that pretty much helped make my decision for me. So it was definitely been easier not having that option of going back to Peoria and playing and kind of starting the next chapter of my life without that going on. Made it a little easier.
I'll add my own question to follow off of her. You say that it would be a little hard seeing some of your guys that you played with in those Rivermen jerseys this year. How does it feel to see a guy like Alec Hageman who's been, by your side for how many years in a Pensacola jersey? How does it feel to see even the guys that you didn't play with as long, Darren McCormick, Jordan Ernst, Nick Neville, a couple of years? Is that weird seeing? I feel like it's stuff you would have never imagined.
That I would never have imagined picturing Hags in anything other than that, that Rivermen jersey. But it's definitely weird and different. I'm happy for them. Obviously, they get to keep playing, and they get to experience a different side of this league and a different for Nick Neville and Hags. I played with them for a long time, and Nick was my D partner for all those years. So I'm glad that they get to keep, doing what they love, but it's really weird seeing them in that color and against a team that traditionally we've had a pretty good rivalry against, going back to when they beat us in the finals. So that's definitely, it's tough to see. That's for sure.
SPHL is probably the only league that you can have a rivalry with a team that's located about 16 hours away from you. But moving on here, and this, again, like I said, we're getting some hardball questions. How about Jeremy Allen, who does a lot of photography for the Rivermen, awesome fan. He asks, any chance you've missed the game enough during this COVID canceled season to lace up the skates for one more season in Peoria?
I wish I could say, oh yeah, absolutely. But it's not that I haven't missed it enough. I definitely have. But barring some miracle by some sort, I don't see that happening. But I wish I could. I wish it's definitely something I miss every day. It's not something that I was, excited about giving up, retiring, but I don't see that happening. I definitely can see myself showing up to a few games and, cheering the guys on and just, seeing everybody again, but I don't see a comeback in my future.
Do you think if you mentioned once you knew that the team wasn't going to have a season, you're right. I think it was literally the next day we were posting about your retirement announcement. Do you think had the team played this year that you were going to give it one more round or no?
I don't know. I really don't know. I was still in that process of deciding. I got married this summer. So me and my wife, we talked about it. I talked about it as an option. We never came to a conclusion on either side of that until after that announcement was made. So I don't know what would have happened. I really don't. I obviously know what I kind of wanted to do, but it was one of those that I didn't have to make that decision at that time. So it just was one of those that we kept pushing off and trying to figure out how all this was going to work, with how everything was going to play out. So I don't know for sure.
I gotcha. Well, I think you're kind of going to – you sort of already did answer this question, but I still want to give a shout out to Chris Bowles, who gave us this one saying, will we see you and your family in the stands at Carver Arena for some Rivermen hockey? I mean, Ben, maybe you can answer it a little differently. Is this going to be something where you may pop in once every couple of years, or are you planning next year, if we allow fans, are you planning to be there a couple times saying hi to people?
I definitely will be there a couple times. Obviously, it was such a big part of my life the last 7 years that I didn't get a really chance to say, say bye or anything to a lot of the fans I became close with over the years. So I definitely think that I'll be making a couple of appearances and seeing everybody and just being around a little bit. And I think it'll be good for me, and I'll be happy to do it.
One of the big fans, and we've obviously seen some of them comment. I mentioned Jeremy Allen. Connie Duncan doesn't have a question in here, but you have to give a shout out to her as the president of the Booster Club. Nancy Cox is another big one. I think I just saw her and her husband were in Pensacola seeing an SPHL game. And you brought up your wife, Kate, which, of course, congratulations to you on that, just recently being married. Nancy wants to know, when are you guys going to start having kids?
I'm not sure yet. We're just we're playing all that by ear. We're a lot of changes obviously this year with getting married, not be playing anymore, new jobs, all this good stuff. So we're just taking it one day at a time and not planning anything out like that yet.
Still a ways. I mean, at some point we're waiting to see if a Ben Oskroba Jr. will play in the 74th season of Rivermen hockey or something. Who knows?
That would be awesome.
Well, Ben, it's been awesome. We have one more for you here. And I know you said earlier when we brought up fans and the weirdest fans, you said, if I would have had more time to think about this, I would have maybe had a better answer. Well, you've been officially retired now for about half a year. And so the last question we're going to give to Andrew Cohen, who, of course, we know very well. You know probably better than I do because you were on the road with him at points when he was the team's equipment manager. And Cohen, who just recently left our front office to take a job down in Lone Star, still really close, still Peoria in his blood. He's going to end it here. And I don't know how tough of a question this is, but when you think of your time, 7 years in Peoria, what was your favorite memory that you still think about today, maybe, as a member of the Peoria Rivermen?
Dave Million asked me that question on, pretty much I think the day after I announced that I was retiring. And I couldn't come up with just one. And obviously I could say the same thing. And it's one of those that even after letting it sit, just the memories that I made with everybody and all, my teammates over the years. And, but one game actually did stick out to me randomly after that fact. I was thinking about it. I think we had a Chicago Blackhawks night. I can't remember what year it was. They kind of all blend together now, but when Jim Corneliuson sang the national anthem, it packed house. I think it was the most people we've ever had at a game in Peoria, and it was it was electric in there. Everyone was cheering the whole song just like they do at the United Center. And growing up as a Blackhawks fan and seeing that atmosphere when they won those Stanley Cups and everything, and to kind of replay that at one of our games. Was amazing. I think that was definitely one of the ones that stuck with me. But obviously there's so many more that we could have a whole special on this to just telling stories about those times. But I think that was one of the ones that stuck out to me. And I'll never forget that one. That's for sure.
Well, who knows? Maybe there is a future time where we can do one of those story times with Scrobes. I still think, and I've said this to you, if you're coming back a couple of times, we at least have to have you on color commentary for a period. One of those games.
I'm in. I could definitely do that with you.
All right, Ben. Well, hey, again, 7 years with the Peoria Rivermen. I think you're one of the best guys to have, especially from the SPHL era, to represent us here on Rivermen Day. Thanks so much for taking the time to answer some fan questions. I'm sure they got a kick out of it, and I hope you did too.
Absolutely. Anytime. I enjoyed it. I miss everybody. Miss seeing you guys at the games, and I can't wait to see you down the road as a fan from a different section. That's for sure.